Countdown. So, guys, welcome to the Body Slam post show for WWE Hell in a Cell. It was a very eventful night, live on WWE Network and on Peacock in Chicago. Uh, it, it was a great night in terms of in-ring content, but I think a lot of people would agree that the end of the show did kind of suck the life out of the event. Rami, how are you doing today? And what did you think of the card in general?
Doing amazing. Golden State Warriors won. Just wanted to plug that. I thought the show was pretty good, pretty solid. The main event did drag out its course. I will say this though, every match, not well every match, but like certain matches tonight had its pizzazz and enthusiasm for me to where I enjoyed it. But the main event is something important to talk about because of just what went down, the injury that Cody suffered earlier this week, and just the way the match played out from the start to finish.
Yeah, it was obviously we'll get to the main event a bit later, but we'll start off with the opening match of the night. We saw Asuka, Bianca Belair, and Becky Lynch in a triple threat match for the Raw Women's title, and personally, I found it to be one of the best matches of the night, maybe even the match of the night. The three had a lot of chemistry together. There was a lot of fun spots, a lot of fun callbacks. Obviously, the whole time Becky was in the Asuka lock, it was one counter after another that we'd seen before from them. And I actually didn't mind Asuka taking the loss, taking the pin. I think a lot of people were expecting Becky to take the pin and Bianca to retain, but I like the way that they're going to try and keep this Bianca and Becky storyline going because you know what, they've both done such a fantastic job that the 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 feud in general just it feels larger than life, and it's a bit, it feels main event worthy. It feels like they need a blow off match that's in the main event of a pay per view, which I don't say lightly for women's matches. Usually, when a women's storyline is happening, usually it's Charlotte or Ronda. But I honestly feel like Bianca and Becky right now do deserve a main event slot, and I would honestly suggest maybe even a ladder match at Money in the Bank would be awesome because the women don't get enough stipulations in WWE. And to be honest, it just felt like every time they went to do uh, a first time ever, that was the only reason they did it, because it was first time ever and it would be history and it was cheap and it was easy PR. And I feel like they're letting down their women's roster by not giving them a chance. Just like tonight, they didn't put the three women in the cell. But all in all, the match itself was exactly what I think everyone expected from three of the best on the entire WWE roster. What did you think of it, Rami?
Honestly, it was hard to keep my eyes, not like in a rude way, of course. My eyes focused because, of course, NBA Finals, a triple threat match that's amazing to watch from start to finish. I honestly thought all three women put on the best performance they could have tonight to open up the show, having that much pressure on your shoulders to be able to give the crowd something to look forward to open it up. I do believe that I agree with you about the ladder match. I'm glad it wasn't in a cell tonight because I feel like if it was, it would have made up for the main event that we witnessed. But I'm glad that all three women were able to go out in the ring, go all over, and just kick each other's asses, put on a spectacular match. I don't know how many minutes it went for, but I'm sure it went over 15 to 20 minutes. I'm glad Asuka took the pin. It's better because with Becky taking pins, I feel like when she took the pin against Asuka a few weeks ago, that was good. When she took the pin against Bianca, that was good. But to make her take more pins than she should, it shouldn't be happening. You have to keep building her up as that big star that you already have her as. With Asuka taking the pin, it did nothing bad for her, and it didn't like push her away from anything big. She took the pin after taking a big move, and Bianca retained the championship in a underdog type of way. If they do remove Asuka from this and have Asuka move on to go feud with somebody else, and they put Becky and Bianca into a ladder match, it ends the feud. It's a good blow off. If you didn't get the cell, um, you can get the ladder match, which is able to upstart what do you call it, push the women even further, because I'm could now call a ladder match between the women happening. If you could, for me, that'd be great, but I don't think there has been. um
There's been a triple threat ladder match. I know that Asuka, Lynch,
Oscar,
and Charlotte a couple of years
yeah,
ago, and then of course there was I think was there a TLC or was it just a normal ladder match for the
I
tag belts? There might have been one. I think it was. We don't talk about the triple threat tag team TLC match. Probably a good idea. But all in all, so we're probably on the same wavelength here that we both believe that the match was fantastic. And we want to see more of these women in stipulation matchups, give them more chances to shine, and possibly a future main event for them. I think
hmm
we're both in agreement with that. So moving on from that match, we will move on to the very next match on the card, which actually you managed to predict pretty much exactly correct. Uh, MVP and Omos versus Bobby Lashley in a
I'm
handicap
such a
match.
I'm such a fan of this match. I'm such a fan of this feud because I'm a huge MVP fan. It's been one since I was 7 years old. Almost one of my upcoming favorites. I just love the way that they're building him up as this big fucking stud that he is. No John. And Bobby, everybody predicted before the match and the kickoff that this was like the end of the Almighty, that this was it for him, is gone. And then they put on this amazing match where I thought it was amazing. If everybody else wants to shit on it, go right for it.
It
But
was
I
fun.
thought it was a fun match. It was good. It put both men up, and you have Cedric entering this. Beautiful. Now you have somebody to protect Bobby. And plus, with you having a guy like Cedric, it gives Cedric a spot on TV, some more to show for him, because I love him with Sheldon Benjamin, but with him not teaming with Benjamin anymore and him trying to still find a way to be on TV, it's better than being on another show, not being really broadcasted. Monday Night Raw, him with Almighty Bobby Lashley, it's good. I feel, and I'm sure that they're going to do this. They're going to put this into a tag team match for next month's pay per view, which is, I believe, Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah, it's Money in the Bank next month.
Tag team match,
July
exciting,
2nd.
and I feel like this could be the Money in the Bank should be the blow off for a lot of feuds. Bianca, Becky, the tag team match. Money in the Bank airs on the second. It's gonna be huge because it's going against the UFC pay per view that's gonna be happening that same night.
Yeah,
Um, and it's I understand some people might be frustrated with the WWE repeatedly booking the same type of matches since WrestleMania, but this is where you can have the blow off. Be Bobby and Cedric take it, and then you continue on with MVP almost and other feuds, and you can have Bobby just go either into the world title picture if you would like to, or to go after another championship, because wasting his potential right now with how well he's been doing, how well he's stayed healthy, isn't something you should be doing. And Cedric, I'm sure, will get something out of this that'll be beneficial.
I think so. All in all, with that match, I think it was a fun match. I think it was in the same vein as a couple of years ago, or WrestleMania 33. A couple of years ago, I said it's about 5, 6 years ago at this point. And when Goldberg and Lesnar finally had that blow off match, and it was just 10 minutes of finishers and breaking things, it just felt like one of those matches that just had that kind of intensity, like the barricade breaking spot, the almost obviously wasn't going to take the L in this match. It was obviously always going to be MVP, so almost doesn't lose a lot. But even though he has lost now, did he even win? Yeah, he won one match against Bobby. That was a WrestleMania Backlash, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And even then that was with interference. But at the same time, when you have a guy as physically imposing as almost over 7 feet tall, he is a very very deep voice. He's a very very like larger than life character. It doesn't take a lot to get his legitimacy back. All it takes is one announce table spot, one spot where he lifts someone up, smashes them through the table, and roars. And that's it. That's all you got to do for a monster heel to get them back over. And I think losing to Bobby Lashley is not going to hurt almost a lot in the long run, but he's definitely improving more and more each time we do see him. So I'm actually looking forward to see what they have planned for him at SummerSlam. But I do think that tonight was the blow off for that feud. It felt like that was it. I feel like maybe we might see. Unfortunately, I feel like Cedric might be next for Omos, and that's not good because I very much doubt Cedric will win that program, mainly because he's a cruiserweight versus Omos, and it just no the casual fan isn't going to believe Cedric Alexander is a possible threat to Omos, but MVP is good enough that I feel like he could. There's something that Paul Heyman does very well as a manager when he's trying to support a heel. He tends to kind of just big up the face. Basically, he always seems to say like this person would be so good, but the guy he's managing now is just that much better. And I feel like if MVP does that with Cedric, reminds people how good Cedric is, I think they could have a really fun match. But again, I just don't see Cedric winning that match. In terms with Lashley, I think Lashley is going to be setting up for a rematch with Lesnar at SummerSlam. I think he might challenge Reigns over the summer. It depends on when they decide to bring Randy back. But for now, yeah, I agree with you that I think that the match was fun and ticked all the boxes it needed to tick. Um, I hope that is the end of the storyline, mainly because I feel like it's already gone on a little too long. But all in all, yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a really good chance for Cedric Alexander to really come into his own. And one thing that I will say, I really did appreciate that WWE did have it. It was about a 30-second clip later in the pay per view when Lashley was walking backstage. You see Cedric, they have a short little conversation. Cedric establishes that he's now full on babyface again, which is nice. And also, Lashley also said, "Don't do that again, or I'm going to kill you," which is not nice, but it's sensible. Um, Moving on from that match, I can't remember which match was started. Um, I should
The
know
next
this. Was it?
match I think is Ezekiel versus Kevin.
Yeah, it was. It was Ezekiel versus Kevin Owens. I've been a big fan of this storyline since the day it started, but I'm gonna let you start us off on this one.
I liked it. A 9-minute match that was able to what do you call it, push after we witnessed the handicap match. I wasn't paying like the biggest attention. I noticed in the middle of the match that Ezekiel got busted on the side of his head and not side of his forehead and looked fucked. And I'm glad Kevin was able to get the win here tonight. I'm sure that WWE is going to push this into the next month for the next pay per view. Um, but I'm glad that they were able to at least out of this get Kevin a pay per view win, and not like immediately push Kevin out of the picture, or like just treat him like garbage for anything for Ezekiel, because I like Ezekiel. I like this storyline. I think it's really good. It's messing with Kevin's head, but to have Kevin get that win in the match like that, it's good for him, and I'm sure that they're gonna tie it up in the next one and then have a rubber match to be able to break it off and have these two men go out of a blow off.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match, mainly because, like I said, I've been a fan of this storyline since the day after WrestleMania, since they started it. I feel like this storyline would not have worked with any other two talents, but because Kevin Owens and Ezekiel have committed themselves to the bit, to the joke, even the commentary team, everyone seems to be in on it except Kevin Owens. Everyone's in on the joke. Everyone's like, ha ha ha, Ezekiel's brother is Elias's brother, sorry. And it's funny. It's hilarious. The hijinks that have ensued from it, the polygraph, the DNA test, like all that stuff is fun. But again, this storyline could have been dead on arrival. Could have not been fun at all. It could be could have got over horribly. It could have been booed mercilessly. Merciful. I can't speak. It's 5 a.m. So
It's
people
5
probably
a.m. I
still
don't
talk.
blame you.
Yeah, but like I've said this time and time again. Every time Ezekiel wrestles, I suggest this idea, and I'm hoping someone will listen to me when I say this. We need to have a moment where they tease the fact that it's two different people, but obviously because we all know, yep, same person. Can't really do that unless you somehow manage to get a hologram. Don't think WWE are going to fork out that kind of money. Um, but yeah, all you've got to do, simple guitar strum, maybe the lights dim a little, something as simple as that, and it's not a hard thing to accomplish, but it could be a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, in terms of the match itself, very short match, like you said, but they did pack a lot into it. The very start of the match was fantastic for me. It sold me. I genuinely thought Ezekiel was going to squash Owens in less than a minute. And to be honest, I wouldn't have even been mad if he had, because it would have probably sent Kevin Owens over some kind of deep end, and we probably would have seen. Like, I feel like Kevin Owens is heading the way of Seth Rollins, that his gimmick is getting so ridiculous, so over the top, that eventually something's just going to click and it's just going to be even more entertaining. But again, like you said, Kevin Owens did get the singles win, which he did need after the last few months. He hasn't really got a win in a while, a legitimate win, really. But all in all, like I said, it was a fun match. Not It was a
And
lot more than I expected.
to win in the pay-per-view debut of Ezekiel, that's crazy, yeah.
It's a big thing for him. And the thing is as well that I do love, and I'll say it time and time again, is Corey Graves' commitment to this bit is fantastic. Kevin Owens will shout at him, he'll talk to him, he'll do anything he can to let Graves know that he thinks Ezekiel is lies. But every single time that the conversation stops, Graves whispers into his mic that he doesn't believe that they're the same person. So I actually do admire the commentary team, the backstage team, anyone who's been involved in this storyline has knocked it out of the park. So I agree with you that I think there might be a blow off next month, but I think it's more likely that both competitors will be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. We may see the payoff for that storyline at SummerSlam. It depends. We might. It depends. They might go 1-on-1, but I do feel like it might be time for Kevin Owens' Money in the Bank briefcase run. Uh, Moving on from that match, then we will go to, I think it was Judgment Day versus Bulliv Club is what it was listed as backstage apparently. To be honest, I loved this match as well. This was a really fun match. I have one complaint and one complaint only about this match, and it's the same complaint I've had since Rhea joined the Judgment Day, is that eventually it's going to get very old that she just keeps getting in the way with no comeuppance. The point of a heel in pro wrestling, draw heat and then get their comeuppance in front of 10,000 people with a chosen babyface. I don't see Rhea getting comeuppance because Liv is not an imposing threat when you've got someone like Rhea, because Rhea is imposing. She's bigger than Finn Balor, for God's sake. Um, so I loved that the faces all had black and white Bullet Club gear. I loved that Judgment Day had all purple gear. I didn't have a problem with the match in the slightest, other than the finish. But again, I'm just nitpicking because that's just something that I don't really like seeing. I don't like seeing a heel consistently do the same thing and never get comeuppance from it. But all in all, I loved seeing Edge work with Finn. I loved seeing AJ, as usual, stealing the show. AJ did actually, I don't know if you saw, AJ did manage to split himself open pretty badly on the end spot. Edge tossed him into the ring post. AJ, being AJ, just went full torpedo mode into the steel ring post, and yeah, he split his head open. But again, Judgment Day did win. What did you think of the match, Rami?
I'm glad that last month I predicted that they were gonna do a 6-man tag, and I was like, they're gonna do a 6-man tag. It's not gonna be a tag team match because, yeah, a tag team match is cool, but when you have Rhea involved with it, you gotta add Liv into it because of their feud that's been happening. I'm hoping tonight was somewhat of a blow off, like but I'm sure it's going to probably go into them being involved with the Money in the Bank, which I forgot about until you mentioned how Kevin and Ezekiel might potentially being in Money in the Bank. If they were to add AJ, Finn, Priest, or Edge, either the two of the men from the feud into the Money in the Bank, it would be able to add something towards that feud. But if you add them into another 6-man tag match, it can't be just normal. It has to be something with chaos. I was expecting that if they were going to do more than one Hell in a Cell match for tonight, it would have been this match. Reason being of because of how violent all six can just get within a match that type of that caliber. But I hate the red cell. It needs to go back to the original. It's garbage. Um, I'm I did not see the AJ spot where he split. Hopefully he's good. Speedy recovery, of course. Um, I just like the way everybody has their chemistry all together. Everybody fits in well. Nobody has a slip up. Nobody fucks up. It's good. It's right. It's perfect. But I do hope that tonight was somewhat of a blow off. They can just lead it to probably having Edge face AJ at SummerSlam in this one more match and any like there. And with Finn and Priest, you just have them slowly slip away because they've been feuding since January, February, if
I
I'm
think
right.
maybe, yeah, I think it's February. Finn didn't win the US title too far away from WrestleMania. I remember that. But I agree with you there. I do think that there will be a blow off. I don't think this was the blow off. I think we're either gonna see both AJ and Edge in Money in the Bank, or both of them won't be in Money in the Bank, and they'll have their blow off at Money in the Bank. I believe that when they had Money in the Bank scheduled for Allegiant Stadium, that absolutely AJ versus Edge would have been. I think we're heading towards an AJ versus Edge match. If AJ loses, he joins Judgment Day. I think that's what we're heading toward. Edge keeps saying it. Priest has been saying it. Ripley's been saying it, and not just on TV, in interviews and stuff like that. They've really sold a bit of how much they want to see AJ join Judgment Day. So I feel like that's where this is going. Again, we've seen what AJ Styles can do when he's not not a clear baby face, not a clear heel. We've seen what he could do in Impact when he did it, and we saw it in when he was feuding with Roman. We weren't sure whether he was babyface, whether he was heel, whether he was joining forces with Anderson and Gallows. But yeah, I feel like that's the way that was going. I'm not sure if they're going to still have that blow off match at Money in the Bank. I think they might save it for SummerSlam, like you said. But one way or another, I do hope that when they do have a match, that the rest of Judgment Day is banned from ringside, or at least the Judgment Day that are currently members. So again, we might see another hokey finish, but if it's a hokey finish and Styles then ends up joining Judgment Day, then we'll get to see a whole different kind of storyline, because I know they're already doing that kind of storyline right now in NXT. They at Takeover in Your House, they're doing that with Escobar Santos. He's joined the D'Angelo family, and I know they might not want to be running two of those storylines at the same time, but it would be an interesting one because, like I said, AJ has proven before he can play this kind of both heel and face role. And yeah, just all in all, that match was pretty much exactly what I expected it to be. Priest looked great, Edge looked great, and Finn looked good, Liv looked amazing, like always. As I said in the coverage, Liv is pretty much a Raw or SmackDown women's title reign waiting to happen. It's not going to be everyone's favorite thing in the world, but I think she will get an absolutely mental, crazy reaction when she does end up winning a title. If that's all you have for that match, we can move on to.
One thing I did want to add, you could
Okay.
be right about the Edge AJ match being at Money in the Bank because Money in the Bank sold out. I'm sure, right? I'm correct about that.
Sold out today. Yeah,
Sold out
I did an
today.
article.
Yeah, it's sold. That's what aside from I was like remembering, like I remember, sold out. If they're gonna have because they have to pack big matches, it could be sold out. But the thing is, it has to have the best matches possible. Because going against UFC on the same night, you have to have big matches to have people going from UFC to going to WWE event. That's only like 20 minutes from there. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. But AJ and Edge, I'm all for it. If they want to have a match to be able to go against a big combat sports pay-per-view, you gotta book that match. That's all I have to say.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about Money in the Bank after the main event. Uh, After we discuss the main event a little, but next up, then I believe is Madcap versus Corbin in No Holds Barred. I don't know if we have the right match order here, but I think we've got pretty much every. Oh no, we still have to talk about Theory and Ali as well. But yeah, I don't
I like
know.
I liked this match tonight between Moss and Corbin because it was no holds barred, and that's what it needed because I couldn't go through another singles match. And I love just the stuff, personality, and the power that Moss showed tonight. I'm sure our producer is a huge was is a huge Moss fan, and but tonight, the way he did that fall away slam into the steel steps to Corbin, that looked like it fucking hurt. And just the way that they smoothly ran through this match with a bunch of big, what do you call it, big dangerous spots that they ran through with chairs and the steps and the table. But I'm glad that they ended it the same way they teased how Moss wanted to hurt Corbin instead of having it the other way around. Even though I thought Moss was out of it whenever the chair was wrapped around his neck and he was thrown into the announcer's table. I thought it was over for. He was gonna get sent into the ring, hit with the end of days in a 1, 2, 3, but that wasn't the case. Moss was able to bounce back, hit that fallaway slam, and be able to get the win after the steel steps on a chair spot to Corbin. I love this. This was the blow off. This was the blow off they
Yeah.
needed, and I'm so happy about it because now we get to see Moss into different programs. He won the Under the Giant Battle Royale. He needs to have a bigger match after this. You beat Corbin. You did it. You finally you've done it before. You did it again. It's over with. And send Corbin off to do a different program. Have these guys go away from each other. It shouldn't be repeated because I know that he has that problem where they love to repeat these matches over and over again. But with this spot, with this here, you can't. It's over with. You have to put Moss into a big. I would love to see Moss face the winner of Ricochet versus Gunther. It would be an amazing match between either one of the two, whoever Moss faces. I'm sure Gunther is going to win it. And with both power that both men possess, who knows what we'll get out of them? What would be your thoughts to where Moss goes next and for Corbin too?
I said this in my coverage on the Body Slam Twitter. I feel like Corbin needs some time away. I think a lot of people,
And the
a
spot
lot of
tonight
fans.
could have used that for that.
Yeah, I think that's why what they were going for. I think that's why they wanted to redo a spot where there was an injury time period. So, like, look, this is why he's going to be off screen for a while. Corbin, for the last, I don't even know how long it's been since he's been the lone wolf. Um, but again, he has a cool finisher, cool signatures. He has a good moveset. He's always good for a solid match, and it's hard because, as a fan, to really get invested in his programs because they're usually pretty much the same thing over and over again. And I don't think that's really a knock on Corbin. I think that's more a knock on the gimmicks they keep pushing him with. He's been a lot of things over the last few years instead of just being Baron Corbin. He's been Constable Corbin, he's been GM Corbin, he's been Happy Corbin, he's been Broke Corbin, he's been all these different names. And
King
what was
Corbin.
King Corbin was even worse. What is stopping? What is wrong with the original gimmick that Corbin had? I get now it's a lot harder for him to do the whole I'm better than all your indie guys because all those guys are going to AEW now. But there's still plenty of guys on the roster that fit that category. He had a great gimmick. That was his gimmick. He wanted to crush all these indie guys, and to be honest with you, it worked. in NXT especially, it worked. It got him over as a heel. He did get a lot of heel heat, but it wasn't go away heat, and a lot of people were really looking forward to seeing what he could do. I don't know how many people will remember this, but when Breaking Ground was on the WWE Network, it was a short-lived series. I think they only had 1 or 2 seasons.
They had
Corbin
one
was
season and a season 2, episode 1, but that never went into
yeah.
another full season.
Corbin was a big part of that, and you got to see him kind of like coming into his own as a character. And he said during that series that he really did enjoy the character he was playing. He liked being able to get this visceral reaction out of people. And nowadays, it just feels like he's kind of going through the motions as a heel, and it's not just go away heat. There is a bit of it that's just legitimate. Just he's a bad guy and he does good bad guy things, if that makes sense. Um, it. I really do hope that they give something fresh to Corbin, at least something he can work with that isn't a complete joke, because that's what he has been for a while now. And again, I don't think that's a knock on Corbin. I think that's just a knock on his booking. And when it comes to Moss, I think, needs to go back to just being called Riddick Moss first. I think you need to completely get rid of the Madcap name. I don't see why he would want to continue being called Madcap. Madcap was the name that we came up with from Corbin, and it you just can't, it's hard to push a guy who's got a name that is in itself a joke. So you're saying that, like, the commentary team are constantly telling us that he's not joking anymore. He's more serious. We've seen him be more serious, more intense. During the match, we even saw a bit where the crowd were chanting for tables. They wanted tables. Corbin used that to get heat. Moss did the opposite. They were chanting for tables. He turned to the crowd and shouted at the top of his lungs, "You want tables? I want to beat the crap out of them." That's what he said, and like he said it so loud that the camera picked it up, but for some reason the commentary team did not pick it up and point that out, which I thought was a bit of a slip up. But again, Graves isn't used to commentating on SmackDown talent, so that's another thing about this match that I did want to mention as well. It's pretty funny to me that Pat McAfee just decided nope, not getting on a plane for one match, and just decided nope, going to sit at home. Cole, you can do it. Graves, that's it. But in terms of what's next for Moss, I think you're right in that he will be thrown into this Intercontinental title feud. But at the same time, I want to see I want to see a series of matches between Ricochet and Gunther. They're good enough that they could steal the show on any card they're going to be on. They're going to be on next Friday's SmackDown card. Tonight I said it. I said it during coverage tonight as well. There were so many video packages. There was they literally played a full top 10 YouTube video that they uploaded onto the WWE YouTube channel in the middle of the pay-per-view. And it's like, if you add all that time up, I'd say it's about 35 minutes of video packages that we didn't need to see. And you could have put on that match in the middle and it would have been incredible instead. But alas, that is that. So we will move on to the match that was just before the main event. Mustafa Ali against Austin Theory for the US title. There's not really a lot to say about this match. It was a good match, but it felt like it was more a tease again for this. I don't think this storyline is over. This storyline doesn't work unless Ali becomes champion or gets some other big win, like Money in the Bank, maybe. Because you can't have someone like Theory. I said this earlier about Rhea. You can't have a heel constantly doing all this shit, doing all this stuff that you're just like, come on, why isn't anyone stopping them doing this crap? Like the guest referee stuff, the DQ, and then beating them in the match after. Theory is brilliant. I absolutely love Austin Theory. He's a brilliant heel. He's a brilliant pro wrestler. He ticks all the boxes, but he won't be hurt by losing the US title. Even if it's a month-long title reign for Ali, even if they hot potato it between them a little, put them on pay-per-views. Keep putting this title on pay-per-views. Keep giving Ali this time. Keep giving Theory this time. I get that they're probably building to a match with Theory and Cena for SummerSlam, maybe even for Money in the Bank. So I can understand why you're not going to take the title off him. But if you're going to bring Mustafa Ali back into a feud, why didn't you just put him in a feud with Miz, make it a one-on-one feud, and have him beat Miz on this very pay-per-view? It would have been a big reaction from the hometown crowd. It would have saved a lot of trouble with fans being against the idea of Theory winning and stuff like that. Uh, but that's what I think about it. So what did you think, Rami?
I loved Ali's gear tonight. I love everything about it. Just the pop he got, the way he came in, like with the most utmost swagger he had. The match went as expected as I thought it would. I love the outside spots they had and the way that they somewhat took their time. I just didn't like the finish, and I'm sure everybody or a lot of people can agree with me that that finish just felt very and like deflated, and I just you couldn't get a smile out of it because of course the once again the hometown guy doesn't win, and with a championship like this to be because you bring Ali back after all the stuff that's happened with him of him wanting to leave, and then you bring him back, you put him into the spot where in 6 days he's gonna be going to Hell in a Cell in his home, um and just going after the championship. To pull the trigger and to have him win the championship tonight would have been perfect. It would have been good, and then you could have had Theory win the championship back in Vegas. You could have had that happen, just a month-long reign. Good, but to bring Ali back, for him to even have like the way his shirt was, the Shy Ali, the gear, everything was it felt right. It felt perfect. And just like that, WWE pulls it away from us. And like Theory, he's gonna have a great reign. If he faces Cena, holy shit. I would be fucking shocked that match happens, but it would be a good match. And if Theory were to get a win over Cena, cool. But why not have Theory win the championship? Have Ali win the championship tonight. Theory wins the championship back at Money in the Bank. The next night, you have Theory retain it in a rubber match against Ali, settle it there, and then you start the Cena Theory feud. I felt like tonight's match for a co-main event, for a match that high with the hometown guy coming in there to win the big prize against the protege of Vince McMahon. They could have done a lot more with it, and I just wish they would have pulled the trigger to see Ali win the championship just this once. Yeah.
Just before we do move on to the main event, I think we should just have a quick comment just about who should be in the Money in the Bank ladder match in next month. I think we've covered a couple of people who could be in that match. Kevin Owens, obviously, like we mentioned, Ezekiel could be in it as well.
Kevin.
Uh,
I'm going with Kevin, Zeke, Finn, Priest, and then they could sort it out between who's 5 and 6. Because if Kevin is supposed to come in here and potentially win that briefcase, why not have it be those four guys already in it? The four, two of them, both of them off, two each of them are feuding. You add two more guys into it who are probably feuding or who just want to be involved with it. Hell, if Gunther does beat Ricochet for the championship and they decide why not put Ricochet into the Money in the Bank, put him into it, fill in the spots with high flying guys who can do stuff off ladders and stuff in this match to make it exciting. With the, of course, the outcome hopefully being Kevin wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. So,
the
what about
thing
you?
is, we saw last year what happens when they put all these talented athletic marbles into one Money in the Bank ladder match. Last year was one of the better Money in the Bank ladder matches in a long time because they did exactly that. Like you said, putting a lot of athletic guys. Now, if I was going to build that field from the ground up, it would be Ezekiel, Kevin Owens. The reason why I'd have Ezekiel in is because he's still feuding with Kevin Owens, and I think that would probably add to the match, having a bit of that bad blood. But for the rest of the people in the match, I would say Sami Zayn, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, and the last one, the last one I would suggest, Tommaso Ciampa. I'm not sure if I would change any of them. Don't know what the plans are for those guys, but if I was to make that match, I would try. I feel like they need to try and book a scenario where no matter who wins, fans will be happy for some reason, whether it's a heel the fans like or whether it's a face the fans loves. I think they need to make sure that for once anyway, the Money in the Bank field is pretty much anyone wins, happy days. Because when you put a Money in the Bank ladder match together, we notice a lot as fans that there's always one guy or two that no one wants to see win it. And to be honest, I didn't even think about this, but to be honest, if they put Mustafa into this Money in the Bank ladder match, it would be fantastic because it feels like when they rejected his release, they made a decision that they wanted to keep him, and I feel like they need to reward him with keeping him. Well, not reward him for asking for his release, but they need to try and secure him and trying to work out a relationship between them, especially considering that WWE has no major Muslim stars, which is it's kind of ridiculous. We've never had a really over Muslim babyface. As Ali has said that he grew up, he didn't have any representation in WWE
A lot of
other
those
than
guys were seen as just bad people with their E's
yeah,
eyes.
yeah, bad guys with ridiculous intentions, stereotypes, things like that. And to be honest, we always hear these reports about the next Rey Mysterio, the next I don't even know, just the next of these people. We never look at the first for some things. Like we had the first women's match and all this stuff like that in Saudi Arabia and things like that, but there's still no Muslim huge star, and I feel like they are really, really messing things up by not having Ali be that star. We've seen before how willing fans are to cheer him. They still are. Tonight was a testament to that. When he got to the top rope and he tried to hit that 450 on Theory, the whole arena was on their feet cheering Ali on. It was one of the loudest reactions of the entire night, obviously due to him being a hometown boy. But again, use the fact that this man is proud of his heritage. He's a brilliant worker. He's a fantastic promo. Just push the man. Just push him. It doesn't need to be a huge push. Like I said, give him a mid-card title reign. That's all. And even then, that's a big thing, especially if it's the US title. Because again, like I said, most Muslim characters in the WWE have just been these anti-American gimmicks. So again, it would be nice to see a proud Muslim US citizen just winning the title. Like I don't get why WWE are so stubborn to pushing this man.
I do also want to add before we go into the next match with Ali. I I remember when he was almost about to win the Money in the Bank previously, and Brock came in
Yeah.
and ended that for him. It would be nice if they did do flashbacks towards that. If Ali was added into this match, of Ali's come so close, but no matter what, either WWE or somebody just took him away from that spot, and to be able to win here, a huge, I love the Muslim wrestler. It'll be a beautiful thing to see. And I honestly want to see him either win gold or win the briefcase. It has to secure a guy like him, to be able to keep him in there and to have him come back to work and to want to do this. You have to at least give something back in a way of, we didn't give you a release, but in a way we can at least give you something to show that we value your work.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so we're going to move on to the main event next. It's a very controversial topic, obviously. I don't know if our producer Jamie is going to put up a picture or not. I kind of told him not to, but if he wants to, he can do that. But I'm sure
Do it.
everyone who is watching has probably seen Cody's chest in some way or another. And just to be honest, I don't know what to feel about this right now. at the time, the minute I saw, but the moment he took off that jacket, everyone in the arena, just the
I wanted to
entire
puke.
arena, just gone. All night long, that crowd was hot as hell. Not a single match where they were sitting on their hands. Then the minute Cody takes his jacket off, they see the swelling, they see the bruising, they see how bad it looks. He's like it genuinely. I said it again on coverage. It genuinely looked like his arm was dying. That's what it looked like. It looked like the life had been sucked out of his entire body, basically. And again, I said this a lot of times as well, and I'll say it again. Cody Rhodes is one of the toughest motherfuckers ever. And if I see one more person shitting on him for God knows what, I'm going to lose my shit. The dude literally went out there in incredible pain, could have destroyed his arm. And that's something I'm going to touch on a little bit later after you've said your piece. But that could have gone so wrong in so many ways. And I genuinely want to know what doctor turned to a man with a completely torn off the bone pectoral muscle and said, you know what, you can wrestle a 30-minute match inside Hell in a Cell. Oh, and you can take a buckle bomb through a table. People can say that it was likely that it was only pain that was bothering him, and because it was torn off the bone, there couldn't be more damage. But the problem with that is there's a lot more muscles in your arm than just your pectoral muscle. A lot more. And if Cody wasn't even able, Cody does this big entrance like this, yeah. But when he comes out, he odd noticeably could only lift his left arm. His left arm came up like normal. Right arm stayed by his side. Right arm stayed by his side until about halfway through the match when he started having to use it. Again, the match was fantastic. Seth and Cody killed it. They absolutely killed it. And I genuinely have no idea how Cody was able to go through that pain. But like I said, I feel like the doctor that cleared him severely let Cody down. I don't know if you feel the same about that, but
I wanna first from the start of the match, Seth coming out with the polka dots, fucking asshole. I was like, this
fantastic.
mother. I was like,
Fantastic,
he's
man.
like, which it was just in the most. I of course put respectfully in that tweet. In the most respectful way, he's an asshole. But my good, what a heel that fucking work was. But when I saw Cody's arm look like that, I lost my appetite. It was disgusting to see because not trying to dig on the guy,
Yeah,
fucking tough
incredible.
SOB,
Incredible feat.
put his hard work in there, and every time he used that arm in the match, he just kept yelling at this, giving out this yell that's felt like so agonizing. If I was in a position, I'm not as tough as Cody was. I would be on the floor. I would be asking for a stretcher to be taken to a hospital to get surgery immediately. It did
Yeah,
not look good, not look healthy, and the way he was able to just power through this match. I don't know how long the match lasted, but it lasted a good while. And for a
it was.
man with a torn pec like that and the bruising surrounding it all over his arm, I'm shocked anyone cleared him. I'm shocked that match went through, but I'm sure they probably told Cody that if you want to, we could honestly just postpone this match from happening because of the extent of your injury. Because when John Cena tore his pectoral muscle, he was supposed to be out for 6 to 12 months. He came back in 4. But John Cena is just, and I'm not trying to diss on any other guy, but John Cena is a different animal to be able to come from something like that. With
Medicine's also come a long way since then as well. You have to remember that was in 2007. And
exactly.
look at us now. Look at us now. Edge is back in the ring.
Edge is
When
back.
Edge
Brian
is back,
Danielson is
medicine
back.
medicine has come a long way. So again, neither of us are doctors. Most of the people commenting on this online are doctors, but everyone can recognize when something like that is revealed that it's instantly
I
no,
was
no, 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 no.
I hated the what was it, the bull rope cowbell? What was it?
I
I can't.
when I saw that, I nearly turned off my TV because I was
And
fully
the
convinced we were going to see Cody rip his other pec.
the tug and war that they did, it just I would have said no immediately to that spot. Whoever thought of that spot after seeing Cody's arm Brother, you're out of your
I
fucking mind.
I don't think it was a case of someone thought of it. I think it was a case of it was. I genuinely believe that that match we saw was pretty much the plan. I feel like a couple of things might have been put out of the match. I think few changes would have been made, but I don't think we got anything drastically different because Seth didn't really attack the arm. He did it maybe 4 times in the entire match, and I think that was
Which I'm
for
glad.
obvious. That was for obvious reasons, and one of them was a kendo stick shot that realistically it didn't look like he put any real. He can't. He. I think he even slapped his thigh at the same time. I'm not even. I'm not sure, but I did like that they brought it into it in a way. But I'm glad that it wasn't anything that was like
It wasn't
too
too
ridiculous.
aggressive.
Like the kendo stick in the middle of the bruising. That shit would probably have made me pass out from pain. That kind of pain would make any normal person pass out because that is a lot. Any kind of touch, any kind of bump on that arm, and I can't imagine the pain that Cody was going through tonight. Like
I
every time he lifted the arm, like there was a spot where he grabbed Seth by the back of the head with both his arms and he smashed him into the cell, and even that small jerk motion sent him like holding his arm and going down. I like again it's one of those cases where it's very clear that it wasn't just selling. It was a lot of pain.
Yeah. I loved the table spots they added. I did want to add this. I find it how funny how Cody was able to hit that pedigree and go for the pin, whereas Seth went for the crossroads, and Cody said, "No, we're
I
not gonna
don't
do
think
that
so.
now," and then counted it into his own, which was nice. I also love how they added the whole sledgehammer into it. Just the whole AEW to WWE type of
Yeah,
story that they're doing. It was really nice. I'm I'm glad Cody won this. I will say this though, if Cody weren't to win this and it would have been Seth to take it, I would have seen it in the sense of how they ran with the Edge Randy storyline. Even though Edge and
yeah,
Randy, we did not know Edge was injured until after that match, I believe.
yeah.
Um, with Randy winning it, it was a good way to blow off the feud for the time being before Edge came back to win the Rumble. But with this feud, I would have had Seth win it, just to have Seth be able to have at least somewhat of the winner of the blow off, just until before Cody comes back, because I'm sure Cody is gonna be taking a bit time off, depending on how bad this injury is going to be for him, because of course the muscle got right off the fucking bone, they said. So
He'll
who
absolutely require surgery. I don't think anyone for a second could imagine that he won't have surgery after the damage that we witnessed tonight.
And what I'm thinking, and I'm sure people will be having this in the predictions tomorrow or for the next couple of months with how long Cody's going to be out. I would love to, because if the Money in the Bank plan isn't going to go through, because I was sure that he was going to win the Money in the Bank at the next pay per view, and to be able to have a world title shot or a world title win already this year, I would love to see him into the Royal Rumble, into
You
the
like
Rumble,
that's a
and
good show.
win it. Win that just the exact same way how Edge came back from his injury, how Cena came back from his injury, how a lot of wrestlers have came back from the injuries, come back to the Royal Rumble, win that match, go to WrestleMania and beat the champion. And depending on who's gonna be champion at the time, I don't think Seth will be champion, because that would be one way to change it up. Having Cody and Seth a year after at WrestleMania, it
That
gives
would be
me
fun.
that Cody Rhodes, Juice Robinson vibe from Wrestle Kingdom when they had their feud. But
Yeah,
I would love to see Cody win the Rumble, go to Mania. Either he faces Drew, because I don't see Roman keeping the championship um until WrestleMania. I see him facing The Rock in a singles match just to end off there before Roman does potentially go Hollywood. But I would like to see Cody win it. Go into this go into WrestleMania, coming back stronger than ever, and then having that big moment. Why not? A year after you came back, you win the world championship. It doesn't get any better than that. You don't have to wait for it. You don't have to build up any more feuds. This right here is kind of a blessing it was a curse somewhat because you lose it on the Money in the Bank win, so you have to go with potentially Kevin Owens going for it. But with Cody being out, you don't have to put him into any feuds to be able to hope that it keeps building up towards until WrestleMania before we get a or Money in the Bank win, Royal Rumble win. You have to secure it. So having Cody come into this and come back stronger than ever, winning a bigger match, something that nobody thought he would ever do if he wins the Rumble, and then going to WrestleMania to main event and potentially win the championship, his father's dreams he finally takes into his own. It would be beautiful.
I agree with you there. Unfortunately, though, I don't think I don't. I think he could absolutely be a contender for the Rumble win, but I don't think they're going to wait that long to bring him back because from the research I did earlier, and I'm again not a doctor, I shouldn't be using Google to stuff, but
I use Google too, brother. No worries.
the the expected recovery time for a torn pectoral muscle off the bone that requires surgery is 4 to 6 months now. So again, like you said, back in 2007, that was nearly a year. So it has come a long way in terms of recovery and the actual surgery and medicine and all that. But we don't know what happened tonight. We don't know if he made it worse. We don't know if he tore anything else. We don't know if he caused more damage internally to his chest area and his arm. By the end of the match, a lot of fans did point out to me in coverage as well that the bruising had become red, which is not a good sign. It's not a good sign at all. It means that there's some even more stuff going on inside than meets the eye. I don't know what it's called, what's officially called. I just know that when a bruise turns red, that's bad, very very bad. Purple's one thing, red's terrible. Um, but if he is, if I think they've really, this couldn't come at a worse time for WWE. They have a lot of people on the shelf, a lot of people who recently had their contracts expiring, like Cesaro and stuff like that, and people who just aren't with the company anymore. They've lost two of their biggest female stars, and Sasha and Naomi. There's just they don't. It doesn't feel like right now they have a plan. It feels like right now, without Cody, without I don't even know who else is on that injury list at this point. It's getting so long. But Cody, like you said, Cody is probably going to be world champion when he comes back. So the question is, do you let Drew take the title off Reigns and then have Cody beat Drew, or do you wait and tell the story of there's not only wrestling has more than one royal family? It adds up, is what I'm saying. It, there's the horrible decision to be made right now by the people in power in WWE, in Vince, in Kevin Dunn, in anyone who has any say in this matter. If between Cody and Drew, there is no one else that's close. It's those two guys. One of those two are going to be the one to beat Reigns. End of story, the end. We all know it's going to be one of them. We just don't know who it is. Jamie actually pointed out to me on Friday that Drew said he was going to challenge for the title at Clash at the Castle, but he never said Roman Reigns. So I think maybe we might be missing out on. I don't think a reign like Roman should end via Money in the Bank cash in. I think it's cheap, and then they'll probably end up just putting the title straight back on him anyway, which will just be pointless. So if you're going to go full on to this, he's the greatest of all time. He's held the title a ridiculous amount of days, yada, yada, yada. If you're going to do that, give us the matches. Give us the matches we want. Riddle, Orton, Drew, Cody, just Seth rematch. Just like there's so many matches out there that you could run back with them, or just fresh matchups. Give Finn another shot. Give AJ a shot at him. You have unlimited potential on stars that you could elevate to this position that could do well even from a loss. Shinsuke is still in their back pocket. Riddle, obviously, Orton, like I said, Drew, like I said, Cody when he recovers. We don't know what's going to happen with Roman. Roman's just pieced out for the summer, apparently. And now that Money in the Bank isn't in Allegiant Stadium, it's in the MGM Grand. There's even less reason for them, and the fact that it's sold out, there's less reason for them to bring any of these big stars in for this pay per view. So the likes that are on the shelf, like Charlotte, who just got married, Brock, who's probably waiting for another payday, Cena, probably waiting for SummerSlam, despite June being John Cena month. Like they don't have any big stars, and it doesn't look. They don't have any reason to bring them back until after Money in the Bank. So I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a couple of stars elevate. I think we're going to see. I I think you were right in saying that if Gunther beats Ricochet will be in the Money in the Bank ladder match and stuff like that. But again, Gunther being Intercontinental Champion will mean nothing unless he goes unless he starts defending it on pay per views. Because that's one knock I have on Ricochet's IC title reign. He hasn't had a single title defense on pay per view. He is one of the most athletically gifted performers on the planet. We all know this. We've all seen the crazy shit he can do. Let him do it. I don't know if you've any final thoughts to add after that little rant.
I was gonna just say repeat the Ricochet "Why you bald, why you ugly" video. But honestly, I hope that because like what you said, Money in the Bank will be that pay per view for. I feel like some rematches, blow offs, but SummerSlam is gonna be the pay per view where Brock comes back, where Charlotte is potentially gonna be back, where Cena might be coming back. Well, a lot of guys will be there. If Roman does defend the championship there, which I feel like he should, if he does, it should be, in my most opinion, a triple threat. Have him against Randy and Riddle to be able to at least up the stakes at least somewhat. And then you have Cena come back if he faces Theory. You give everybody a fill-in for their matches because who you can have Randy face, who you can have Riddle face if Randy faces Roman or Riddle faces Roman. If you have them face the Usos, that's cool and all, but we've already seen what happened with that match. I would love to see a triple threat match happen with that, and it would be enough to be able to fill in a main event spot and to have Roman continue his dominant reign. I do want to add before we do go, I don't think a Money in the Bank loss for Roman would be bad towards him. I feel like though it should be only if he gets his ass whooped incredibly hard in that match. And if he does win, he can barely stand on both his legs. The Usos are out. Heyman's there screaming his lungs out. And then it builds up a Money in the Bank win. But if not, and you just have it cash in on like a regular SmackDown, then it adds no excitement, no push, no nothing for it. It has to be at a pay per view in front of a huge sold out crowd.
I agree with you there. I guess I might have been a little harsh by saying that it shouldn't be Money in the Bank cash in. I
Mm,
think
you're good, Simon.
the obvious way to go with it, in my opinion, have the Money in the Bank winner challenge him. No problem with them doing. No problem with them doing that. But if you really, really want to get fans behind someone, a new star after you've had the at the end of the day, Roman is the star. He's the attraction. He's the main guy. He will be the main guy until he loses that title. And whoever takes that title off him will take over that role as the face of the company. We know this is going to happen. The titles were unified for that very reason, that there would be one world champion, one face of the company, and that's it.
They
Roman can survive without being the face of the WWE at this point now. He's the top heel. He'll be the top heel until he turns face. Then he'll be the top face until he turns heel again. Whatever. Personally, I hope we never see him face again because he's so entertaining as a heel. But again, going back to that same thing we've been talking about all day, or well, I've been talking about all night. There's no comeuppance for his actions. Rollins DQ'd himself. Rollins never got a rematch. He got involved in the Usos title win. He gets involved in everything at this point. Even when he wasn't on the show, he cost Riddle and Nakamura the titles. Yes, that was Sammy with the team and all that. But again, like I said, no, you need when you have these heels. The thing that I really like about AEW compared to WWE, and this is the only time I'm ever going to mention the other company on a post show. With AEW, when heel does something bad, they get comeuppance, whether it's subtle, whether it's small, whether it's huge. Look at Eddie Kingston from Double or Nothing. Not Seth Rollins, Chris Jericho blew a fireball in his face and he tried to burn him alive. The only reason he didn't was because Bryan Danielson got up and pushed him away. Yes, Jericho still got away with it, but blood and guts will likely be his comeuppance like it has been several times in the past now. And yeah, I genuinely don't think there's really anything else to say about tonight's show. So I think I will end us off there, guys. That was the Body Slam post show for Hell in a Cell. I've been Corey. I'm the lead writer. Rami, he's one of our awesome MMA guys. He also tweets a lot about wrestling too. He's a cool dude. And our producer, Jamie, the James on Twitter. And that's it, guys. So see you guys next month for Money in the Bank.
Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at BodyslamNet.
And yeah, guys, so that, like we said, that's all we really had to say about tonight's event. But make sure to follow everyone we got.
I'm Rami. You can follow me at Who Else But Rami on Twitter. I write MMA for Body Slam. I love pro wrestling. I talk about a lot of sports. Just if you follow me, you'll honestly see that. Of course, Corey is one of the best the lead news writer for Body Slam Net. He's worked his ass off, over 1,000 articles recently. He surpassed, which is a huge accomplishment in my eyes, honestly. We will be back next month for Money in the Bank. We'll be having a show potentially soon for our MMA, and I'm sure that you'll be a huge fan of it.
Yeah, and follow me, Corey Brennan BS. I do post my articles usually when I do them. So if you want fresh news before it gets up on bodyslam.net, you can check my personal account out on there. And yeah, I do the coverage on the official Body Slam account. So yeah, if you want to check out some of that coverage from tonight, some of the tweets I made, you can go and check that out at altbodyslam.net. Just remember, that's my opinion, not the site's.
And lastly, don't forget to go to Pro Wrestling Tees and pick up a shirt to support Body Slam Net and to support all of us here. We appreciate you watching and love you've shown us no matter what we do. And now I'm going to start freestyling. Have you seen the messenger for Jamie's?
Yeah.
All right, picture.
Well, at least it wasn't. At least this stream hasn't been 90 minutes like the last one. So if you guys are still managing to watch us awkward ass people wait for our producer to cut the stream, yeah, we probably will be. We will have a show called Finish the Fight at some point. And currently, tomorrow I will be recording a show with Jamie. We haven't confirmed it yet. We haven't confirmed what it is. So I'm not going to say anything. But if I'm going to talk to Jamie after this stream, and we'll see what we can do about letting you guys know what the next show is. I don't even think Rami knows what me and Jamie are doing, which is kind of interesting. Or do you know?
I somewhat know. I was awake and James was sending me a bunch of things for it. I'm just like, okay.
Well, all I'm going to say is kind of related to a couple of people that were on tonight's card. That's all I'm going to say. But like we said, guys, we do cover all pro wrestling, all mixed martial arts. Well,
Boxing
we
too.
try to. We try to do boxing as well. Any major news in combat sports. We also try to get the. I used to write a lot of MMA stuff, but now Rami's kind of took over that job for me because I'm too busy with all my pro wrestling stuff. So, yeah, hopefully we can continue to bring you guys as much wrestling news and as much MMA news as physically possible. If you do want to go check out our articles, you can just, as you guys know, bodyslam.net on your search bar, and you can go check out some editorials, some news articles, and there's also quite a bit of results articles there as well. If you want to go back and look at any results, you can probably find a history of that on our website. We do have a lot of other shows, a lot of other podcasts. We've got the likes of the Watch Wrestling podcast with our managing editor Cassidy Haynes. We've got Indeed with Mr. Purple. Like I said, we've got fight. We've got the Pro Roundtable guys who usually do the weekly TV post show stuff. I can't remember all the guys' individual handles, but they are all awesome dudes. And
I
I'm
also wanted to plug in the Code of Honor podcast with Kylie Follerer and
yes,
what's his name? Kylie
Carlson, Carlson,
and
Kyle,
Kyle.
Kyle
Yeah,
and Kyle.
I was about to say Kevin. I was like, I'm about to butcher his name.
And just a quick thing about that before we move on. They've done a really good job, Kylie and Kyle, with the Code of Honor podcast. They have had several conversations with the former owner of Ring of Honor on the podcast, and he's revealed some pretty cool stuff. So if you guys haven't seen those episodes of Code of Honor, you're missing out because it's probably the best podcast out there related to Ring of Honor. And yeah, they're sure to have a very, very busy schedule ahead due to the fact that they are, of course, a Ring of Honor podcast. And with the announcement, well, not the announcement, the news breaking recently of the next Ring of Honor pay per view being later this month as part of, or was it? I think it was this month. I'd have to double check that. But with the return of Ring of Honor to pay per view coming up, they will be sure to have a couple of episodes before and after that pay per view, and they will, of course, comment on all the comings and goings of the promotion now that Tony Khan is the owner. Still not sure if we are ready to be cut off yet.
We'll be off soon. We're working overtime.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind. Before we started, we said let's try not make it 90 minutes because I need to go to sleep because it's 6 a.m. my time, guys. In case you didn't know, I never say it out loud. I never talk about the fact that I have to stay up all night to do wrestling coverage. Never complain about that at all. But yeah, like we've said a couple of times, we've got a lot of cool people over at bodyslam.net. You can find them all basically in the interactions of our Twitter and our Facebook, guys. If you haven't followed both of them, you can go check them out because they will, as always, be breaking. There will always be breaking news in both the world of combat sports and pro wrestling. So again, just try, just even if and also if you do want to see the news as soon as posted, make sure to hit the bell on Twitter and I can't remember what
notifications on.
And turn notifications on Facebook because you will get a lot of them. I try to get as many articles as I can up as soon as possible when news breaks. So yeah, just make sure to hit the notifications button and do let us know what you think of each article, guys, this post show, what you thought of Hell in a Cell, what you thought of all the comings and goings of the world of mixed martial arts, boxing, and pro wrestling. And yeah, I have no idea what to say now. Plugged everything that I can think of. But a brief thing before, but you know what? Just before we go, we'll play a quick little game of
Oh god.
a fun little game of who is the next who will be the next NXT champion after Braun Breaker. There's one for you. Any ideas?
I'm be honest with you, pimp. I didn't watch NXT, so I
You
do
don't want
not know.
to. I watched Takeover for the first, my first Takeover in a long time at the weekend. I watched it in your house. I covered it on the Twitter, and to be honest, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the NXT product. I just stopped watching once 2.0 was rebranded. But yeah, to be honest with you, I really enjoyed the show, and I would recommend it to anyone who has kind of left NXT in the
Yesterday,
past.
yesterday was the in your house, right? Like of course.
Yes, Cameron
Yeah.
Grimes
I
and
woke
Carmelo
up.
Hayes. Yeah,
I woke up. I saw. I didn't even know the UFC card was on early in the morning. I was like, "Hey, yo, what the fuck?" And
yeah,
I was like, "Okay." I watched that. I forgot NXT was on. I watched the George Kambosos lose in his home of Australia against Devin Haney, which was shocking in my opinion.
crazy.
I was shocked that happened. I thought Haney was gonna get slept by Kambosos, but it didn't happen. But and then this morning I wake up and then I look at my phone and like Hell in a Cell tonight. I'm like, wait a minute, where was I was like, where was Hell in a Cell going on? I completely forgot because I've just been out of the loop and I've been just mainly focusing on like basketball, baseball, football coming back in a couple of months. And I recently got into soccer. I've what do you call it? Been calling myself a self-proclaimed Chelsea and Real Madrid fan just to
You
piss.
can't be two. You can't be two. You can only have one.
No. I already call it. No, Chelsea is because of the Dodgers co-owner, one of the billionaires buying
Oh,
into it.
oh
So,
yeah.
so I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay. And then Real Madrid, it's because, of course, Spanish. So I was like, why not? Plus, I'm not a big fan of Liverpool. I don't like their fans, and some of my old friends have been Liverpool fans. So I'm like, please. I will say this though: one person I can praise from Liverpool, Mo Salah, love him to death. I think he's honestly amazing. He's a good person. But when I saw Real Madrid win, happiest day of my life. I never followed soccer. I don't follow anything like that. But once I saw that in my heart, the Spanish inside of my blood, that's it. I knew that was everything to me. That's all I needed.
Fucking hell, man.
What team do you follow?
Manchester United, unfortunately.
I think okay, when I was moving to like where I live now, my neighbor she gave me a Manchester, I think either United or City soccer ball. Had no
Was
idea.
it blue or red?
Red.
There you go, Manchester United then, because trust me, you're not going to find a red Man City ball or a blue Manchester United ball ever. Good
So
God. Any Europeans watching this, get a load of. Wait, one hand. That guy. Get a load of that guy.
I could barely know about this. I'm a Real Madrid fan. So, but on
Man picks the club that won the Champions League. I wonder why you picked them.
Spanish, like I said, Spanish in my blood. If it
I
was
don't know what you I can't remember what you guys call like bandwagon. You're a bandwagon fan. There you
yeah,
go.
I would agree with that. A bandwagon fan.
No denial, no denial. Just straight
No,
up.
the
Yep,
thing
I'm
is,
American. I'm a
the,
bandwagon.
the thing is this: like, I wouldn't consider this being a bandwagon fan, but for basketball, I'm a huge fan of the Los Angeles Lakers because I'm from LA. But some of the teams that I support, like Golden State Warriors from the Bay and other teams, but one of the teams I mainly support because of the player Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks, the Slovenian king, the god. He's gonna be competing for the World Cup qualifier in Slovenia June 30th, which is gonna be amazing. And honestly, on that team, I support it. I bought one of their jerseys for $20. Don't ask me how I got a jersey for $20, which should be costing $100. I will
What, a Real Madrid one, or are you talking about basketball here?
Luka Doncic jersey for
Um,
basketball. He used to play for Real Madrid, but that was for basketball back when he was 16. But got his
I,
jersey, and people were like, "Why do you support him? Who else would I support?" Everybody, if I support Golden State, I'm called a bandwagon. If I support, I would never support the Phoenix Suns. Oh, disgusting. Um, but Los Angeles Lakers, they suck right now, so gotta support somebody.
uh,
Did you see the messages?
yeah. I think the best cause of action here, guys, is actually just a little mistake with our stream. So The stream will probably still be going after this, but we won't actually be live. Me and Rami are going to log off now. You may see the stream still on in the background, but yeah, we're just trying to sort out some issues with just finishing off this stream. So we're gonna both myself and Rami are gonna dip out. It'll probably just be an overlay of the Hell in a Cell thing in the background, but. Yeah, guys, that will be the end of our coverage of the post show. And
Nah, I'm gonna
once
give him
again,
a show. I'm gonna give him a Kanye West show. You can leave. I'm gonna get this for 50 minutes, a concert for everybody. Okay, I'm not doing that.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna,
go to bed because it's nearly 6 a.m. So
yeah.
see you
Good
guys
night,
next
everybody.
month at Money in the Bank, and deuces.